get started here. Let me share my screen really quickly. So yes, today we're going to be talking about the recent proposal that went up on the forum. I actually can't even remember if it was this week or last week at this point, but recently. But yeah, GIP-26, which is initiating the one of the two new houses for GoodDollar's governance and, GoodDAO 2.0, as we're going to be calling it. So yeah, just to kind of set the agenda for today, I'm just going to be speaking really briefly. The point of today is not to hear me speak. It is more to engage with you all on any questions, comments, concerns that you have about the proposal. The goal of today really is to kind of create a, communal understanding around what the proposal is proposing, but what the next immediate next steps are, as well as to gather feedback from you all and reduce confusion as we move towards the voting process. And I will cover that at the end in the next step section. But yeah, I'll give a brief overview of the proposal. We do have, I see Afo, Marcelo, and Paul here. So we have 3 out of the 4 representatives from 3 out of the 4 House of Alignment new members. And I will give them just a brief couple minutes to introduce themselves as well as their projects. I do encourage you to look at the proposal on the forum. Mary, I don't know if you want to paste that maybe into the chat. For context, if you haven't already, but we have received replies from each of the new members as well that will go into greater detail on who they are and what their plans are regarding the distributions from the House of Alignment. And we will hear just really briefly from them. And then what I'm hoping is, the majority of the time is kind of answering all of your questions. We also did have some questions come in from the forum, which I can also address, which I thought there was a couple of good ones on there, just kind of like an FAQ style thing. And then yeah, ending with next steps, talking about the voting for this proposal, and then if it's passed, what implementation will look like moving forward. So yeah, let's move on here. So yeah, I just wanted to set the context first and talk about how we got to GIP-26, how we got to this concept of the House of Alignment. I will reiterate that I have tried to document everything as openly as possible throughout this process so far. I also just realized I forgot to introduce myself for people who I haven't met before. I am Sam from GoodDollar. I'm the governance lead. I was initially brought on to kind of usher in a new era of governance for GoodDollar and drive greater community engagement and participation around a new vision for the DAO. And so that's kind of the top bullet point there, which is this governance revision. This post, like all of the other posts, you can find on the forum. So please, if you feel at all confused by anything that I'm talking about today, I do encourage you to go on the forum. There's a lot of added context there. But just really quickly covering the new vision for GoodDollar governance, as I've previously communicated, it really kind of encompasses a new strategic direction and vision for the GoodDollar ecosystem as well, which is to explore expanding the GoodDollar ecosystem a little bit more sustainably. And, this is to address various ecosystem participation and coordination mechanisms around the G token as well. And so, yeah, GoodDollar has historically been, a UBI distribution protocol. And while this is in no means at all an abandonment of our core UBI mission. This is just exploring the expansion of the ecosystem in a way that drives demand around the G token and really supports and grows sustainability of GoodDollar. And so to get started on this journey, we went through what was called CoGov, or short for Collaborative Governance Process, which was a participatory, very structured kind of hackathon for the design of the new governance system with you all. And so, yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you for everyone who did come and participate during it was 9 weeks and 3 community calls over the 9 weeks during CoGov. And I want to reemphasize, as I said in my retrospective post, which once again you can see on the forum, that the outcomes from CoGov and the input that you all gave during that process was super, super helpful, invaluable, and directly impacted the way that governance is being revisioned right now, and that you can see in the structure of the House of Alignment. The one key takeaway for me from the CoGov process was this. Was the way that the community really envisions the purpose of GoodDollar and the purpose specifically of GoodDollar governance as a network of impact capital allocators. So that's why I put it there. And sorry, somebody's coming in. Viewing everybody, the participants, as these allocators, but also viewing GoodDollar more broadly as this alternative monetary system with participatory governance that governed the way that the money was distributed, and in turn how the impact that is created from those distributions. And I thought this was very lovely. This is something that I know that we were envisioning with this governance redesign. We want to give the community as much power and as much say to impact the way that the money flows throughout the ecosystem, and the participants that we're pulling in, and how we grow. And so hearing this from everyone during CoGov was really, really motivating for me. And so all of this throughout the CoGov process as an output, I published this GoodDAO 2.0 roadmap, which I presented during the last call, the third and final call during CoGov. Once again, it's on the forum. It's linked in my retrospective report. You can all check it out. And this explicitly structures the new GoodDAO as what I was calling a network alignment system. In brief, this is just a system that shares a mission, shares public goods, shares an asset that can drive economic activity. This is the G token, that is positive sum for all participants. And so for me, in order to create a system like this, there needed to be a shift in how the G token was distributed. Historically, it's been distributed purely as an individual UBI token. And this move to the House of Alignment, this is reflecting that the G token is now we're going to be exploring a way, in addition to UBI, a way to support aligned projects and public goods with distributions from a new pool. And so we want to do this in a way that promotes ecosystem engagement and participation. We want to grow demand for the G token, all while still allocating individual UBI. The thesis here really is that we want to drive stronger coordination around the G token, and in doing so, increasing the token's circulation, the utility of the token, and thus like the long-term sustainability of the ecosystem. And so here we arrive at the final bullet point, which is kind of the manifestation of that vision, which is what I'm calling, and what we're calling, the House of Alignment, which is one of 2 new houses of governance within GoodDAO. the House of Alignment was very, very much, or the vision for the House of Alignment was very, very much, sorry, I have a new slide here. This is kind of, this was actually a slide, very much, I edited it to update it with, the new changes, but I did present a slide very similar to this during that last and final call of the CoGov process. But this kind of shows a quick schematic of how the House of Alignment works. And you can see the 4 member projects there and exactly how the G token is flowing in between them and the GoodDollar Protocol. This model is very heavily influenced. I want to give a shout out by some of the existing what's called impact staking or endowment models. Some of the more popular Web3 projects that do this are Bread Cooperative as well as Octant. Where the GoodDollar Protocol has the reserve that generates staking yield, and then we can use part of that yield to fund impactful projects. And these take the shape of the four members that you can see in the schematic there. Really briefly going over the model, it's the 4 projects are going to be staking some G in exchange for emissions directly from the protocol, as well as governance power in the future iteration of GoodDAO. It's very simple to explain, and I do know that the devil is in the details, so that's kind of what I will hope to get into later with the Q&A. Let's see on the next slide. Oh, sorry, somebody's coming in. Yes, so the one crux of this design, and I think is the very, very most essential thing to spend a minute on explaining right now, is that the money that is being distributed to these projects, it is by no means meant to just go and fund, to sit in their treasuries, basically, or it's meant to be redistributed amongst their communities, amongst their ecosystems, their users. And so we had to come up with essentially bespoke distribution strategies for each of these projects in a way that is the most impactful for their communities, but is also going to most effectively drive demand for the G token. And so I want to hear directly from the member project representatives who we have on the call today briefly about these strategies. I can elaborate a little bit more. I know we don't have Tomer from Textile, so I can kind of briefly talk about that really quickly as well. But I do want to say that these strategies are the most important part of this design and will essentially determine its effectiveness in the end. Really briefly, don't need to, I showed this slide before as well, where I did edit it a little bit recently, but there's some eligibility criteria. I do want to briefly mention the membership to start. These 4 projects were essentially whitelisted by Good Labs and myself. However, we do want to say that this will be opened up in the future for a wider governance vote, which I will get into at the end. It was very, essential for me, considering this was this is a pilot program. It's a bit of an experiment that we got, projects that we were comfortable and also aligned with for the first cohort, and who we have confidence in that will help us redistribute G and create the most impact with that. With those distributions, essentially. And so very excited with the 4 projects that we have here, but I did want to emphasize that moving forward, we hope to open that up for future governance votes. And one slide on GIP-26, that should set the stage for everyone. GIP-26 basically puts this all in motion. So this was included in the forum post. This gives you a high-level overview of how the distributions from the protocol are changing. And I do want to address, I will do this after we introduce the House of Alignment members. But I do want to address that I do understand this is looks like a significant amount coming from the protocol. And the reason behind that is that it is. And I want to emphasize that I'm hoping that this will be able to make a meaningfully significant impact on the projects that we are including in this first pilot program. I think it's super important to make it worth their time, impact their communities at a very significant level, as well as collect meaningful data so that we can kind of judge what's working, what isn't, and then reiterate for future programs. So there is going to be an evaluation and an accountability framework as well, which I can get into a little bit after we introduce the members. And this will be we'll all be working towards the date of September 30th, which will be the first time that the community gets to vote on actually the distributions themselves to these 4 projects, and that will be all around the reporting of the circulation, the impact that the G token has been having throughout the 4 projects and their ecosystems and that'll be roughly about a quarter's worth of data there that we will be able to go on. I think that's what I had. So before we get to questions, I wanted to I didn't want to talk forever, so hopefully that wasn't too long. I'm going to stop sharing really briefly so that we can bring on, I know that Afo needs to hop off for another call in about 8 minutes. So let me pass it off to you, Afo, who is part of GreenGoods, to introduce yourself really quickly, introduce GreenGoods, and whatever else is on your mind.
Yeah, should I share my screen or just?
Yeah, if you have something prepared, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm just gonna walk through the website real quick as I talk. Like Sam was saying, part of the GreenGoods team, which is built by the Greenpill Dev Guild, where I'm a steward, as well as for the network. And GreenGoods is a protocol application we've been working on to support Greenpill chapters and regenerative projects across the ecosystem that are working across solar, agroforestry, education, and waste, and helping to make their impact more legible so that it could connect to funding in a more transparent manner. So just to quickly mention some things that GreenGoods does, we have a regenerative work loop where people assess the space, what they're looking to do, whether it's solar hub development, waste management, agroforestry, then doing the work, which was all on chain with attestations with Ethereum, and then verifying the impact with evaluators, then creating hypercerts. And then we used, similar to what Sam was saying earlier with Octant, we also have an endowment model that gives gardens their own local endowments that they could grow over time for their regenerative work. And it takes more than just gardeners. Within GreenGoods, we have 5, I guess you could say, roles, archetypes of gardeners who are the people on the ground doing the work, and we provide them a simple PWA, which I'll just show very briefly, where you're able to basically come here, select your garden that you're doing work for. So if you're doing solar, agroforestry, right, you come in and select, and then get in to start gardening, which then goes to a flow where you can add images, add details, etc. And then coming back to the website, the operators are the Web3 savvy people, typically are Greenpill stewards that run the gardens. They assemble the season plans, accept gardeners, and help to confirm the work. Evaluators are people that have expertise, and something we're still actively developing out, what type of evaluators there are to have a diverse set of perspectives when evaluating impact. Funders could be anybody from a small donor to a large grant funder, and then the community, which is super vital to being able to provide signal to the work that's being done and making sure that's being impactful for the community. And just to briefly mention, we have 2 models to support gardens. You could donate directly, which is using a cookie jar protocol, which is basically a very simple protocol where you could pull funds together, and then people could extract when they need them on a monthly cadence. And then we have the endow model, which is what I just mentioned earlier with Octant, where people can make long-term deposits where they're not giving up their principal, but the yield that's being generated goes to support the gardens. So I know I could say more, but yeah, I'd love to pass it over to the other projects.
Great, thanks, Afo. Let's go with Marcelo from ReFiDAO.
Yo, everyone. First, thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, Sam, for leading this whole process. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of coordination with a lot of people. I'm from ReFiDAO. It's, let me share my screen. Basically, ReFiDAO, it's an initiative, a global network of people working in different areas of regeneration, mostly coordinating people who are like in the front of the regeneration and trying to make sure that funds are allocated to the more efficient and interesting initiatives. ReFiDAO today counts with a network of local nodes. I'm very happy to be involved with the creation of this network since the beginning at ReFi Spring. It was like a previous organization, and most of the nodes here came from events we sponsored, and that evolved into local communities, and then startups started to appear, and they own Web3 initiatives aimed at like regeneration and sustainability in general. So basically, our idea is to select 2 or 3 local nodes. We started with 3, but we're discussing like maybe 2 would be like more efficient. But this is like a thing we decide together in the House of Alignment. But the idea is basically to select 2 local nodes or 3 local nodes, and in different geographies to test pilots aiming for growth. So basically, we allocate the stream from GoodDollar to tasks in Balaio. Balaio will be the infrastructure. This one will be the infrastructure, and the tasks here will be with the deliverables that we are agreed upon with the nodes. So we need like to increase demand for G. So if the node increase demand for G, then the node will be able to come here, see the task here, and claim the task, submit the proof, and claim the reward of the task. So we've been testing Balaio for like a couple of months, and with GoodDollar and local communities here in Brazil, and it's been like a very interesting opportunity for us to learn and to improve Balaio, and we hope to work together and see everything grow together. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you, Marcelo. And then I think we have Paul. Yep, Paul is here. So yeah, Paul, why don't you come up? Paul of Gardens, say a couple words.
Hey, how's it going? And yeah, thank you, Sam. This has been a long working progress. I think you first started the conversation on the House of Alignment like a month or 2 ago. So it's really cool to see this come to fruition, and yeah, really excited to be a part of this and to see the other projects that are also contributing here. Let me share my screen. So this is the Gardens app. Gardens is a community governance platform. We help communities make decisions about where to spend their money and how to best achieve the mission that they've set for themselves. And Gardens accommodates all kinds of different communities. We've got open source software projects. We have chapter-based organizations. We have ecosystem growth organizations, activists, clubs, any type of organization that's coordinating around a shared purpose. That's what Gardens is for. And what I want to show specifically related to the House of Alignment is something that we've been building for a few months now, and it has just been released very recently. This is streaming pools. And so this is actually partially funded by the Good Builders grant program, and was first piloted as part of that program. So this is actually right here, one of the private beta first examples of this. This is a streaming pool. And so this is a funding pool that people can put money into and then have people create proposals where funding then streams to the proposals based on the conviction on those proposals. So that kind of encompasses a lot of different aspects of the mechanics of gardens. It's all very parameterized and customizable, but the short of it is that you have a governance token. In this case, it's the G token. You have a voting weight system. In this case, we're using quadratic. So your weight is the square root of the amount of governance tokens that you have. And then you have conviction, which is this time delayed element that is really kind of nice mechanism for continuous decision making and also for preventing a lot of the typical types of abuse that we see in DAOs. This is things like last minute vote swings or people coordinating effort around like a flash in the pan type sentiment campaign and basically influencing outcomes in ways that the rest of the community is not really on board with. And so this streaming pool kind of shows this in action. These are all the different projects that were part of the Good Builder Season 3. And people with G are able to join this community, allocate their voting weight between all of the different projects that were in that program. And then if your project hits a minimum threshold, then you start a stream and these projects can start earning from that. And so this is currently streaming 4.5 million G tokens a month. And that budget is something that you can set. So this is set to a maximum of 5 million. And then based on that amount of conviction, that determines what percentage of that budget gets spent. So it's a lot to kind of dive into. We have documentation on all of this. But long story short, it's a really kind of beautiful mechanism for making good decisions for your community. And as part of the House of Alignment, we're going to expand this to not just Good Builders grant projects, but the entire gardens ecosystem and allow any community to get access to this funding and grow and do whatever it is that they're trying to do for themselves. So yeah, we're really excited to fund this and let the broader ecosystem benefit from this stuff. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. You can also get a hold of me either on Telegram or here in the chat. But yeah, thanks again, Sam and Marcelo and Afo. It's good to see your guys' projects also.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. That was amazing. And that was amazing. Yeah, Marcelo and Afo, thank you all for attending, saying a couple words. Yeah, I'm just super excited about the 4 projects that we have in here. I will say, I'm not going to share my screen while I talk about the 4th project, which is Textile Credit. Yeah, I'm not. Tomer is the leader of that project, but I will just say that yeah, Textile is essentially an on-chain private credit infrastructure. They have different credit pools that gives essentially connects borrowers to institutional lenders from like the more traditional finance space. We're going to be funding a new distribution or a new credit pool, essentially, to subsidize lending to specific communities, specific borrowers with the G token. Once again, emphasis on distributing the G token to new communities, incentivizing more demand around the token as well. And you can, Tomer did post something on the forum as a response to the GIP-26 proposal that you can check out as well. I don't know if somebody posted yet, but I can post the, it's in the proposal, I think, but that is the Textile website for you to check it out yourself as well. And yeah, that's our 4 projects of the House Alignment. So thank you again, everyone who just spoke, Marcelo, Paul, and Afo. That was incredible. And I hope that everyone can see that, yeah, we've got some pretty amazing projects in here for the first cohort. I did want to address one of the comments on the forum was a bit concerned with the Web3 focused projects that we have. But I hope that I wrote a response to this on the forum, as well as the short presentations we just got. I hope that everyone kind of sees how, while these projects are certainly Web3 native in their infrastructure, the communities and individuals that they serve are by no means Web3 focused, right? Just like GoodDollar as well. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like all three of them, and all four of the projects are very much aligned with GoodDollar. You know, a smaller part of GoodDollar's mission really has been to serve like the non-Web3 and focus on the non-Web3 native populations. I still love how GoodDollar has been kind of the first Web3 experience and an onboarding experience into Web3 for so many people. And I hope that everyone can see that through the four projects that we've chosen for the House of Alignment here as well. And so just going back, I can share my screen again really briefly just to wrap up the short presentation that I had. Did I have, I think I was just at questions actually. Let me see. Yeah, I actually was just at questions, but I guess we can look at the question slide. But yeah, that's basically it as a really 30,000 foot level, you know, overview of GIP-26, what the House of Alignment is, what the context is behind it. I'm not going to share that screen anymore. Yeah, hopefully that gives people a better understanding of exactly what we're trying to do here, why we're doing it. Yeah, I would love to spend the rest of the time of this call answering any of people's questions that they might have, addressing any concerns before moving on, and I'll end the call kind of with like next steps, calls to action, ways you can participate, things like that. Like I said, I can also I also have some pretty decent, like good questions from the forum that have already been posted there that I would be happy to kind of go into detail a little bit about as well. But yeah, thought I'd open it up to the everyone on this call right now. You can just raise your hand if you have something you'd like to say, a question you'd like to ask. I'll give it, you know, a few moments here before kicking it off with some of the forum questions while everybody, you know, thinks of really, really good questions. I hope this means that we were all just really, really good at explaining things, that nobody has questions. Let me kick it off then and maybe grease the wheels a bit by starting it off with one of the questions we received on the forum, which I do think is a very valid concern that I kind of briefly went over before, which is like, what about the dilution of the UBI pool for individual claimers? I would like to address this heads on. Like I said, I think it's a very valid concern. What I want to say, and what I said in my response on the forum, was that, you know, what this proposal is not a removal or replacement of individual UBI by any means. The individual UBI remains core to the GoodDollar Protocol, to GoodDollar's mission. It remains unconditional. However, the House of Alignment is going to be this separate complementary layer on top of the you know, everyday distributions that are made to UBI. I want to emphasize that this is a pilot, so this is like somewhat of an experiment into exploring how GoodDollar can, at the same time that we distribute UBI, we can also support aligned projects and public goods, you know, within our ecosystem. Like I said before, the key aspect here is really the redistributions that the member projects are going to use to make an impact with their own communities and grow their own communities, as well as drive demand for the G token. Growing demand for the G token is effectively the same as growing the reserve, which funds individual UBI. And that's kind of the impact, the ultimate impact that we want to make here, where we want to make the reserve more sustainable so that we can not only maintain, but also grow UBI distributions in the future. And so that's the ultimate goal, is growing the reserve, or growing the demand for the G token, which means growing the reserve and hopefully growing future distributions down the line. And this really is just a choice to invest in, part of the G token in the mechanisms that are designed to grow the pool for everyone. And yeah, we will be seeing the impact that it can make, in the upcoming reporting and voting periods that we're going to host. So yeah, I wanted to, hopefully that is a clarifying answer to that concern. Han, I do see that your hand is raised, so yeah, go ahead.
Yes, let me start saying that I really like all the projects involved. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what that delivers. Yeah, about the revenue stream, which is like the 40%. I was just wondering how you do you have any fail-safe mechanism, because the 4 projects are really involved and they get a lot of government power. So they have, at a certain point in time, they are the most involved and have all the government power. So like in 30 September, they might say, okay, let's increase the revenue stream to 70% or 80% or 90%. So how do you have a safeguard for that?
It's a great question. I don't want to give away any spoilers just yet, but as the House of Alignment is part of a wider governance overhaul for GoodDollar. As part of that, we are not only rethinking how the G token gets distributed, but also how governance power is allocated throughout the system. And while we're still in the process of designing that system, which will be, made very public as soon as we've finalized from our side, that is definitely something that will be taken into consideration to make sure that we have, that risk under control. Because, and that was, I do want to say, I do understand that we want to make this as robust and kind of like permissionless or trustless, to use that terrible word, as possible. But that was also one of the reasons that we wanted to kind of handpick this first cohort as well of projects. Marcelo Paul and AFO have been great partners to GoodDollar, to me personally so far. And not only are they, like, their projects aligned with GoodDollar's mission, but we are confident that they are very motivated to distribute the G token in a way that benefits everyone. And but it won't only go on trust, right? Like, we are going to be working towards that September 30th evaluation date, where we are going to be reporting on some of the key metrics that we want to be tracking and measuring in order to determine the impact that is actually being made here. But that is a long answer to your question, but I will say in short that with the wider governance overhaul that is taking place, we are definitely going to be mitigating that risk moving forward. Sorry to be a little bit vague at the moment, but it's just because it's also in process of being finalized.
Yes, thank you. I understand it's not for today then, but yeah, it's difficult to get everyone involved in governance. So
yes,
looking forward to how you're going to solve that.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And this is probably a good moment really quickly to say that over the next month or so, we are going to be also like publishing the next steps with regards to the new GoodDAO, right? And I did, like I said in the beginning, I published kind of the initial roadmap as part of the end of the CoGov process. But we will be delivering something way more concrete with very actionable ways for the community to get involved and start contributing immediately. I will also say the September 30th date that I keep mentioning will be the first vote that the community has on the actual distributions of the towards the House of Alignment projects. And this will be done in like a new GoodDAO setting, right? And so this will all become more apparent as we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, maybe as we wait for if there's going to be another question, I did want to, I think I already addressed a couple of these. I will say, yeah, I mean, I did have a couple notes that I could share on the actual, I keep mentioning this evaluation and accountability framework. I put up, it's not in the original post on the forum, but actually a reply that I posted as well, because someone was asking specifically about the metrics that we're going to be using for this process. So I did want to just draw your attention to that. It's up on the forum post as a reply. However, you know, these metrics, I want to say, are really mapped directly to the objectives of the program. And, you know, what I put up is hopefully like a good initial framework that we can work for. I do want to say that, you know, because this is a pilot program, what we're actually measuring will, of course, evolve over time, what we consider more impactful, less impactful. But to start, like the three main areas that I'm going to be looking for and that we'll be reporting on for each project is the distribution of the G token. So, you know, these are things like the amount received, the amount redistributed, the amount held at the end of the quarter, and kind of like a breakdown from there. And then also, perhaps most importantly, the G demand metrics. So these are things like new active wallets created with the G token, the retention rate of the G token, the transaction volume, the transaction count, things like that. And then the third bucket is just more qualitative, like more of a qualitative impact bucket, which I think is might even be the most important, because I do think that it is important to get these, you know, very concrete examples of how G is creating meaningful impact within these new communities. You know, how many people are using the G token, what are they doing with it, and you know, this type of context that quantitative metrics can't necessarily capture. So we're going to be using that like as a very broad reporting framework, moving towards the September 30th vote date. And yeah, hopefully that will be a good initial insight into how the House of Alignment is functioning and the impact that it's producing. I think that was the last forum question that I wanted to address that I hadn't already addressed. But we do have about 10 minutes left here if anybody had any related questions. Otherwise, I can just wrap up with immediate next steps. Okay, well, yeah, please feel free to raise your hand as I'm wrapping up here. If anything comes to any of you. But yeah, so for immediate next steps, what we have is we're going to be opening the voting period on the GIP-26 proposal on next Wednesday. So this is the 3rd of June. The voting period will be open for 7 days, and this will follow the typical governance voting process that has been in place for a while now. So yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out if you have any questions about how to vote, but nothing has changed there. It will be the same process. Please also feel free throughout the process to continue engaging either on the forum on Telegram. Feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions or concerns that you may have. So the voting will be open for 7 days until the following week, after which, depending on the outcome, the first distributions will be made to the House of Alignment members. As I mentioned before, so in the period between then and September 30th, so that's about a quarter's worth of time, we please keep stay engaged, because we do have a lot of additional updates that we're making more broadly to the governance system and the DAO. And we're going to be having announcements very soon on what that's going to look like more concretely, and how to get involved. So yeah, please, stay engaged, and yeah, always feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I think that's it for now. I think that was all of my notes. I don't know, Mary, did you have anything you wanted to add here before we, I guess, give a couple minutes back to everyone?
No, I think, thank you so much, Sam. I think we can give time back to people. That's always appreciated. Reiterate, we're really excited to get this started. It's been a long process, so really excited to see it live and have you all involved in this new governance for GoodDollar and the project as a whole.
Thanks, Mary. Yep, super excited for this. Really excited at the impact that we're going to make on, on these projects, on these communities, and really driving forward, growth of the GoodDollar ecosystem as well. So yeah, very excited. Thanks for coming today. This video will be posted as well. Thanks so much, and we'll see you online.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.